Hi, Dr. J. Smith here in Pennsylvania with a special message to all of my subscribers. I woke up this morning. Today is December the 30th, which is actually my anniversary. I've been married to my wife now for 37 years. Amazing time. Great 37 years. And I was going to celebrate with her when I went online and I looked at the Fander Films site, and I saw that we now have over 20,000 subscribers. Whoa, 20,000. Fander Films has been going since 2006. So we're talking about, well, over 12 years now that we've been going. And just a few days ago, we only had 19,500. And I want to give a special thanks to Christian Prince. Christian Prince did a shout out for me to support what I'm doing here, and because of that we jumped by 500 subscribers in almost 2 days. That's quite a jump, and I want to thank and acknowledge Christian Prince for having done that. And he said something there that I think we need to all acknowledge. The reason he even put that video out there a few days ago was because he felt bad that many Christians were not following those of us who are on the internet, who are doing what I do right here, who have been doing this for years, in my case for 12 years, now moving on to the 13th year. And he was bemoaning the fact that we don't support our own apologists and, in my case, polemicists. Apologists, those who defend Christianity; polemicists who go on the offense. In this case, in my case, and also Christian Prince against Islam. And he said, you know, when you do a comparison, you look at all the Muslim websites, when you look at the Muslims who put up the really trash up there, they don't really put much material that's that has much substance, yet they get hundreds of thousands of hits from other Muslims. And that we are putting up good content, we're putting up good arguments. Fander Films has been one of the oldest ones up there. I don't know if there are any other. I don't know, maybe there are others that are older that I'm not aware of yet. But I also want to do what Christian Prince, I want to say to those who are watching this that we need to be aware of other sites like Fander Films, my sister site, the one that my good friend Hatun Tosh, her site DCCI is one I particularly want to support tonight. Defending Christ, Confronting Islam is what DCCI stands for. She created that after I left UK, after she had been on Fander Films for me for about 3 years, and so we have done an enormous amount of work on Fander Films, she and I and others as well, but she was the one usually next to me on the ladder. So she created this DCCI, which puts out about 5 or 6, sometimes as many as 10 videos a week, all from Speaker's Corner, which I used to belong to, and I used to be down at Speaker's Corner, and I had been working at Speaker's Corner for 25 years, long before we had cameras, long before we had smartphones where we could record what we did. And she's been still doing that, an amazing job that she's doing with her whole team down there. I wish more people would look at her films. Please subscribe to DCCI. It's as simple as that, DCCI. The other one I'd like you to subscribe to is Soko Films. Soko Films does much the same thing, very similar to Hatun Tosh's DCCI. Bob the Builder is a friend of mine who works there. He does much the same thing I do. He is a younger version of me. He reminds me of myself when I started way back in 1992 at Speaker's Corner, but he's much more efficient at what I do and is a lot more robust. So please support Soko Films. They're about ready to move over the 20,000 limit. They're going to surpass me in just 1 week or so. But they need more subscribers. Subscribe to Soko Films. Engage with what's happening there. Look at what they're saying. The other one I really want to support is Sadat International, CIRA International, and I'll put these up along the bottom so you can see where you need to go. This is the these are the YouTube site for the films that Al-Fadi. Al-Fadi is an interesting character because he used to be a Muslim. He was a Salafi Muslim. He tried to join Al-Qaeda. He comes from Saudi Arabia, speaks fluent Arabic. It's his mother tongue. Even comes from Medina, the same town that supposedly Muhammad came from. And so he speaks the Quraysh, that dialect that comes from Medina. Fascinating because he then met Jesus Christ and has changed completely. Now lives here in America, is married, and does his work on Sadat International. I will be working with him. I have already worked with him. For those of you who are new to Fander Films, if you go up and back and see what we did, Al-Fadi and I did in May and June and July, just look at those series. Probably, those have been by far the most successful series, looking at the Quran and unpacking the historical problems with the Quran, looking at slavery and then looking Islamic slavery and then looking at the emergence of Islam. Those episodes on the emergence of Islam, on the Quran, and on slavery have blown open as far as records for me. I've never had this many hits in such a short time, and that's just happened earlier this year. There are others I want to highlight. I'd like to highlight David Wood's site, which is just growing by leaps and bounds. I think is the most successful Christian site we have that's engaging with Islam. Acts 17 Apologetics is the name of his site, and he has just been prolific. I have worked with David in Africa. I've also worked with him here in the United States. I just got done working with him in California in September. He goes further than I would do. He is much more of a street fighter, more so than I am. But I love the guy, and I love his humor. He has a sense of humor I am incapable of trying to emulate. And yet, what he is saying is absolutely important for today. Another man that I'd like to highlight is Sam Shamoun. Sam Shamoun has been a dear brother for many years. Sam Shamoun does not have as prolific a site as David. His site is called Shamounian. Yet, when you want to get a man who knows more than anybody else I know, I think this man, I believe he has an eidetic memory. That means everything he reads, he memorizes. It stays in his head. What a fighter. What a warrior for God. Fascinating personality, and he and I sometimes were at loggerheads together, as he is with lots of other people, but God has really blessed him with a fine mind. And that's why he's so dangerous, and that's why Muslims do not want to debate him anymore. I need to underline also Christian Prince. I want to thank Christian Prince. His site is known as the Arabian Prophet. He actually lives, I think, in the UK. I understand he has seen me, but I don't know who he is. I assume we have met, but I would not know who he was to place him, because that is not his real name. And yet when you listen to him, he has a gorgeous, beautiful, deep baritone voice, and he speaks slowly and enunciates his words and comes out with some of the amazing material. A lot of it is similar to what Brother Zacharias Boutros does in Arabic, Christian Prince does in English. Takes and unpacks so much of the hadith and the sirah and the tafsir and the tahriq and gives us what not the original, but the earliest sources of Islam has said about their prophet, their Quran, and the emergence of Islam. And that's why he's so devastating, and that's why Muslims have a hard time getting their heads around him. They hate him. They absolutely hate him. Others that I want to pinpoint, Dan Gibson is the one, and look at his site. It is called Dan Gibson. It's very simple. He has an enormous following in Asia, particularly in India, and he's now coming out with videos every few weeks on unpacking and explaining the historical emergence of Islam from his research that he did between 1989 up until 2004, and is continuing to do that even today in 2018. And then, of course, I like to end off with Samuel Green, a good friend for many years from Australia. Just go up and look at Samuel Green. That's his site. Support these men. Please support these men and these women, like Hatun Tash, DCCI, Sirah, Soko, Acts 17, Shamounian, the Arabian Prophet, Dan Gibson, Samuel Green. These are the ones that I want you to support more than any other, because they are the ones that are doing the same type of work that I'm doing. See, we're losing some of our best speakers, people like Nabil Qureshi. We lost him. We've lost now, we have just lost Joe Carey, who is doing much of what I do in Texas. And then most recently, we just lost Dr. Keith Small, a real good friend, has been a friend for about 25 years with me. As we lose some of these bright sparks, God is replacing others and bringing others into this sphere. And that's why I wish that you who are watching this, support us, support these ministries, support these videos. There's very few of us. We don't have as many videos and people who are able to go public as the Muslims do, because it is dangerous, the kind of work we do. Not too many do survive very long because of the harassment we get. Muslims don't get harassed like we get harassed. Muslims don't put their heads above the parapet like we do when we unpack the Quran, when we unpack Muhammad, when we unpack this material that is devastating to Islam. And yet we need to do this, because Islam will be destroyed by this kind of criticism, is being destroyed by this kind of criticism. And I thank God that we don't have this problem in Christianity. But you need to help us. You need to support us. If you do want to support us, look for the Patreon symbol that's on our homepage. Just look for the Patreon and do support us. We need to have financial support. We need to keep going. It's important that we do have people like you who continue to not only financially support us, but also others of you who get online. And I've been really encouraged on Fander Films how many of you are actually going to the comments below the videos and you're answering so many of the criticisms. What I love is the Muslims are there. They are watching the videos. They are criticizing it. They're attacking me. Mostly they are attacking my person, but they're not attacking the material. And when they do, it's fascinating to see how many of you patrons, I think I have over 50 patrons who are now actually going and as like armchair evangelists, you could do it in the comfort of your own home, who are responding to those challenges, great challenges, and even better responses, because we have the best material. We have the only antidote. We have the only alternative to Islam today, here, everywhere, and anytime. It's great to have you on board. Those of you who have subscribed, thank you for putting us over 20,000. God bless every one of you. And let's see what we have waiting for us in 2019. We have so much yet to do. I'm still just about halfway through this FAQ series. A lot more to go. And we have some new material that's going to be coming out with Al-Fadi and I. Can't say too much more about it. I am not permitted to say what we're going to be introducing. But in 2019, you're going to see some much more devastating material, especially in the historical realm against Islam. God bless you. This is Jay. You're in Pennsylvania. December the 30th, almost the end of 2018. As we see 2018 now, let's look forward to 2019 and see what the Lord's going to do for us with His Word, with His example, for you around the world. Jay Smith.